Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Folks, today's Monday, September 16, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Republican Vice Presidential candidate JD Vance admits he lied and does not regret spreading false rumors that Haitian immigrants are stealing and eating pets in Springfield, Ohio. Those lies have led to bomb threats and the cancellation of the city's Culture Fest. Haitian actress Garcelle Beauvais has a lot to say to the MAGAs who are lying about the Haitian community. The man arrested for Sunday's, the man was arrested for Sunday. They called it an alleged assassination attempt. So why hasn't he been charged with attempted murder? I'll explain. President Joe Biden says his administration is investing more than $1 billion in HBCUs, bringing its total contributions to the schools to more than $17 billion the last 4 years. We'll talk with Steve Benjamin, the Director of Office of Public Engagement and also the UNCF Senior Vice President of Public Policy and Government Affairs, about how this money will impact HBCUs. Georgia identifies its first preventable death abortion related to the ban on abortion. We'll talk to the senior editor of ProPublica who broke this story. And also, Tito Jackson, one of the brothers who made up the group, the Jackson 5, has passed away at the age of 70. Folks, it's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. On the Black Star Network, let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
We always knew Republicans were lying about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. Well, MAGA JD Vance was on CNN yesterday and admitted that he created the story about Haitian migrants eating animals. Listen to this liar talking to Dana Bash.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana. Because
you just said that you're creating
a story.
About
public policy.
Sir, you just said that you're creating the story.
What's that, Dana?
You just said that this is a story that you created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not accurate.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents. I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it.
What a liar. Oh, it's coming from firsthand accounts, but they are lies. They are flat out lies, and that's what these maggots do. They lie. They repeatedly lie. They have caused mayhem in Springfield, Ohio. They have caused schools to get bomb threats, hospitals to get bomb threats, you name it. And now you got Rich Lowry with the National Review, a big-time white conservative, talking to Megyn Kelly, and I'm sorry, did I hear him use the N-word as he was talking about the Haitian migrants? Listen.
Finally, he said something to the effect of, look, if we have to create stories in order to bring attention to what's happening, the media, he admits they made it up, right? As opposed to, and if you listen to the full clip, he says, by drawing attention to what's happening on the ground, it's just, as this line goes online, you don't hate the media enough. Go ahead.
You remember Alternative Facts with Kellyanne? They did the same thing. She wasn't saying you make up fictions and pretend they're facts. You bring other facts to bear in the debate that are being ignored. And that's what he was saying. And I think it was in that interview where Dana Bash says, the police have gone through 11 months of recordings of calls, and they've only found 2 Springfield residents calling to complain about Haitian migrants taking geese from ponds. Only 2 calls. And I think one lesson of this whole story, people don't care about geese. People really hate geese. They all things considered, I think people would prefer Haitian migrants to come and take the geese off the golf course, right? So it's pets, it's the cats and dogs that's become the standard. Geese clearly don't matter.
I mean, I read online they're protected in Ohio.
I'm sorry? What did he say? A couple of people on social media actually slowed down the comments, and this is what he said. Play.
Recordings of calls, and they've only found 2 Springfield residents calling to complain about Haitian migrants taking geese.
Oh, that was slowed down. Now, check this out. Let's go to my iPad. So this guy, Andrew McCarthy, is with the National Review. He tweeted this out. Ridiculous. Rich Lowry obviously got crossed up between immigrants short and my short eye. Y'all, look, he got crossed between immigrants short eye and migrants long eye, started mispronouncing migrants with short eye, instantly corrected himself with no embarrassment because it was patently a mispronunciation. Jeez. That's what he tweeted. Now, Little Rich agreed with that. In fact, here's Megyn Kelly. This is so disgusting and obviously leveled by someone that doesn't know Rich Lowry at all. A finer, more gracious man of good character you will never meet. Okay, this is the Santa was a white man lady. This is the blackface is okay lady. Really, Megyn Kelly? Shut the hell up. But again, just so understand, this is what you're seeing from these people as they are talking about what's happening with Haitian migrants. Garcelle Beauvais, who's Haitian American, weighed in on this. She had to say this here.
Hi, sak passe. Staying silent in the face of racism and hate is something that I refuse to do. This past week, the lies that have been spewed about the Haitian community, about my community, have been disgusting, deeply hurtful, and dangerous. Now, this is not about politics. It's about humanity. We must condemn this kind of hatred, this kind of racism for anyone. I have always been a proud Haitian immigrant, coming to America, working hard. That's what we do, coming from gratitude. And I will not sit by and let people talk about my community in any way they want for their own gain. The power we have is the power to vote, to register and vote and stop this madness, this chaos. Haïtien, c'est pour nous sortir, c'est pour nous voter, c'est pour nous register, c'est pour nous parler avec tout le monde que nous connaissons qui ka vote. C'est là nous gain power. I am not going to sit by. It's just not okay to treat people like this. We're supposed to be uplifting each other. From our leaders to our neighbors. This has got to stop. And we have to do something about it. We can't just sit by. Thanks for listening. Register to vote. We have 50-something days. Go out and vote. We need to stop this chaos.
Look, these Republicans do not care. They don't care. They are using this. They are pressing the racial buttons for a reason. What did I say in my book, White Fear? How the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. I told y'all this is what they do. This is exactly what they do. This is exactly how they behave. And so they want to draw Democrats in to have this racial conversation about, oh, they're bringing in these black people and sending them to red areas to flip them. What are they throwing out? They're getting welfare. They're getting government benefits. Do y'all see what the game is? This is how they play the game over and over and over. This is no shock at all. This is the game that they play. And what they've done is they've fallen in line with MAGA and Trump. As I said, bomb threats at city buildings and schools. The city canceled Culture Fest. The city manager has said he and his family have been getting numerous threats, death threats. A matter of fact, there was a black guy who went to city council and made all types of accusations. Now he is saying, oh, damn, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said all those things. The Miami Heat, they have responded and issued a statement regarding this, and this is their statement. The Miami Heat staff, like Miami itself, is a diverse and brilliant mix of vibrant cultures, including many members of our Haitian community. The false narrative surrounding them is hurtful and offensive and has sadly made innocent people targets of hateful speech and physical threats. Our Haitian employees, fans, and friends deserve better. That was a statement from the Miami Heat. Now, again, I told you when you look at some of these folks out here who are speaking out, some who are, again, who have been complaining. There was a black guy who went before the city council there and was whining and complaining, and he was talking about, matter of fact, before I get to that, remember I told you about the mayor? This is a tweet right here. Previous Springfield threats were more extensive than previously reported widely. Mayor Rob Root and his family have received what he said multiple death threats, as have other city staffers and commission members. This is what Donald Trump and JD Vance has unleashed in this country. This is what they've unleashed. And they don't care. They literally don't care. They don't mind if people are calling in death threats. This brother right here, his name is Anthony Harris. Now, this is quite profane here, so just letting y'all know. This is the brother who went before the city commission, making all of these claims about Haitian migrants, and he was lying. Wasn't factual, he was lying. Listen to this.
They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them. I ain't never seen no fucking cat and dog get ate in my life, and I never fucking said that. I said something about a goose, and somebody told me they see somebody grab a fucking goose up and cut his fucking head off, and that's what the fuck I said. But when you ask me, do I regret it? Hell yeah. And then we got to deal with motherfucking schools getting closed down. We got to deal with motherfucking all the government buildings getting closed down. We got to do interviews at the police station because weird shit is going on.
The white woman who also helped start this, she's like, oh my God, I didn't realize that all these things were going to happen, and I now fear for my safety. So you make up some bullshit about Haitian immigrants. Their lives have been threatened. They got to keep their kids home from school. They're scared to death of walking the streets. You got racists in there, Proud Boys showing up. You got folks, again, like I say, walking the streets, can't tell who the hell is Haitian and who isn't. They're attacking anybody and everybody, and now you sorry? Matter of fact, here's a video here of some of the folks there in Springfield who are not Haitian, who are talking about how they are being attacked.
But I'm still a person of color. So when people come and look at us as a whole, I don't look any different from the next person. So people assume that I'm Haitian.
Me as an African American, you know, when we're looked at like, well, I don't know if you're Haitian or not. So I just had a gentleman look at me, an older Caucasian gentleman asked me, how do you tell them apart? There's no way to tell us apart. No way than there is to tell Caucasian apart. Right. Until someone starts to speak.
Right, you have to talk with them and get to know them. Right, and just...
I have to say something. So American people, Asian people, at the end of the day, we're human first. So we're supposed to live together and don't be dramatic. So live together and stay cool. Because before Springfield was a nice place, quiet place. So I want my Springfield the same Springfield.
You want it to stay the same way, just quiet and nice and friendly.
Yes,
right.
Friendly.
Right.
Friendly people.
See, y'all see what's going on here. But the racists are driving this. The MAGAs, the racists, Republicans, conservatives, they are driving this. This is all on them. My pal, Dr. Julian Malveaux, economist, president emerita, been in college out of D.C., Dr. Amakongo Debunking Senior, professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University out of D.C., Renita Shannon, former Georgia State Representative out of Atlanta. Glad to have three of you here. I mean, it is what it is, Renita. Bottom line is, these are racist, white Republicans. They don't want black immigrants in this country. I can guarantee you, if 15 to 20,000 white people from Norway were shipped to Springfield, Ohio, JD Vance and Donald Trump would not be saying a word.
I lay the responsibility of this at the feet of the elected officials, because as a former elected official, I received plenty of letters and plenty of emails and messages from people in the public asking me to lift up things that just sounded completely ridiculous. And it was clear through their correspondence that they were not well. And it's the choice of the elected official of what you're going to elevate or not. So this, to me, all goes back to lay at the feet of Donald Trump and JD Vance for lifting this stuff up. They've had experience being elected officials. They understand what the responsibility is of an elected official. And you have to realize that many of us, when we looked at the debate the other night, we heard when Donald Trump said this, and most of us just shoved it off as being completely ridiculous because we could see right through what it was. But you have to remember that there are people in the public who honestly hear these things, take it to heart, and they are not mentally well, and they take action based on that. And so every elected official is aware of their responsibility of what that additional privilege that microphone is, and that you need to be using it responsibly. So I think that both Trump and Vance and the other conservatives who've been repeating these lies can absolutely thank themselves for creating what is complete chaos in Springfield.
But Omekongo, they don't care. They know they are pushing the racist buttons of their followers. And you hear JD Vance, oh, if I have to make, if this is what gets people attention, so be it. They do not care, and they don't care if any harm is brought to these Haitian immigrants in Springfield.
No, you're absolutely right. And they are going to continue to do this. And let's also be mindful that Donald Trump is the master of distraction, because after that poor debate, he has been throwing this out, and he's going to continue to stick on it because he knows that this is going to distract from people talking about his poor debate performance. But it's scary, Roland, because he's using the most vile and ignorant, hateful things to distract from this. And now real people are being targeted. And what did he say? If he wins, that his first two areas that he's going to target are Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, because he's playing off of that nonsense you talked about last week about Venezuelans taking over gangs there. And so he's not even throwing out coded language. He's just saying names of cities and throwing all those people down there. And this is the time for us as Black people to really unite, because I know a lot of Haitian people who are part of the Black struggle and identify and understand the racism. But we also know that some who are part of the diaspora community have looked at this racism in the United States as a Black African-American thing. We are all in this together. And like the sister said in the videos that you showed, that people can't distinguish, so they're going to treat us all the same. So just like the video you played from the woman, we got to get out there and vote. We got to be united. We got to be in solidarity. And where are the Republicans? They're supposed to be calling out this ignorant and hate. They're not calling it out, not because they're scared, but as far as I'm concerned, Roland, they believe it too. People right now, you're either silent or you are part of the solution. You are guilty by association. And if you're not going to speak up when this stuff's happening right now, you want this too. So we got to continue to fight, continue to speak up. I'm glad that we're continuing to do this. And I respect those who have also been upstanders for the Haitian community. But now we got to be upstanders for the Black community more if you haven't been in our community, because this is happening everywhere.
Julian?
This is so absurd. JD Vance even said when he had the interview with Dana Bash, if he had to make a story up, which he did, he made a story up to bring attention to the immigration issue, he would make a story up. So he's a liar. He is a liar. But that, apples don't fall far from the tree. He is Trump's person, and he's a liar. It is a horrible trope that Haitian Americans have to deal with. As I shared with you the last time we were together, my grandfather was Haitian. They don't eat no dogs and cats. It's just, the absurdity is amazing. But even more than that, as Omekongo said, and as the sister in the video said, you can't tell a Haitian from a Black American. We all look alike. So what you really say is, let's begin to attack Black people. And JD Vance's interview with Dana Bash was disgraceful from the perspective that he just said anything. And he argued with her. He did not, he was disrespectful, but more than being disrespectful, he acknowledged that he was a liar. And he said, well, if I have to make something up, I will. So he made it up, but it has gotten legs. And then they say, oh, this is a distraction. Well, if it was a distraction, why'd you say it? Why did you not say it? So here's what we have to do. folks. As Obacago said, and he's absolutely right, as Black people, we have to unite.
All right, looks like we lost Julian's signal, so we're going to try to get her signal back and have her back. So just hold tight 1 second. Going to a break. We come back more on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished? There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hey, what's up? It's Sammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
President Joe Biden kicked off National HBCU Week Conference in Philadelphia. This is an annual event that happens in the country. Of course, it is a 3-day event highlighting the nation's historically black colleges and universities. He touted what the administration has done in the last almost 4 years.
We all know, and I mean this sincerely, that HBCU students are just as capable as any other students. No, but HBCUs don't have the endowments like many other colleges and universities that are able to fund research labs, improve campus infrastructure, and so much more. That's why I'm proud to be delivering on a record $17 billion. $17 billion for HBCUs, the most ever any administration has ever committed.
Ever. So don't believe any lies from Donald Trump or from Senator Tim Scott or anyone else. Stephen Benjamin is Assistant to the President and Director of Public Engagement for the White House. He joins us now from Philadelphia. Glad to have you here. Steve, the thing here is that I really do get a kick out of when I listen to these Trump folks talk about all the things that Trump did for HBCUs, but they never seem to put a number on the table. When we talk about this $17 billion, we're talking about students, faculty, staff, buildings, but also this impacts the broader area, the broader community that surrounds these HBCUs.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. Thank you for always doing some truth-telling for all of us. We're talking about a record amount of investment in the historically black colleges and universities, over $17 billion, $1.3 billion announced this year alone. That's what the president came up here to also, in a very detailed way, break down resources going to so many different colleges and universities, very specifically aligned with some of the trillions of dollars that are being spent along the lines of infrastructure and semiconductor chip manufacturing, future fuels and clean energy, just so many things happening. Now, usually folks won't give you details around the former president's investment because there are no details. It's over $17 billion is a record amount invested in our historically black colleges and universities. Not only, this is, as the president said in the clip you played, these young people are gifted and talented. My daughter's a student at Spelman College in Atlanta. She could have gone anywhere she wanted to go. But the force multiplier that our HBCUs are, you think about it, 40% of all black engineers come from HBCUs, 50% of all black teachers, 70% of all black doctors and dentists, 80% of all black judges. And the president, of course, you know, have done a record job appointing black women to the appeals court bench, more than every other president in the history of the country combined. And obviously, as the president loves to say, 100% of black vice presidents come from HBCUs, the great Howard University. The point that you just made very specifically, I think, is lost on so many people, is the economic engines. I served as mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, a proud home to Allen University and Benedict College, where I served as a trustee for so many years, over a decade. These colleges and universities are great engines of economic growth for the communities in which they reside, and certainly also as helping create real wealth generators in the individuals that matriculate through the universities. Just a report that came out from the Council of Economic Advisors early this year laid out, and I wrote the notes down here. We're talking about $16.5 billion annual economic impact the HBCUs are having on their respective communities, and also $146 billion in collective lifetime earnings. This is the thing about HBCUs. The significant number of low wealth and first generation students that matriculate at HBCUs do a better job than in any other college and any other demographic, I might add, of moving from the bottom quintile of American economic society into the middle class. We're talking about a significant leap because of the very special education they're receiving at HBCU. So this is a good investment for America. And the president, he talks about his visit to Norfolk State as vice president and realizing that these kids were gifted and talented. And he planted the seed in him that if he ever had the opportunity with the stroke of a pen to make a difference at the HBCUs, he was going to do it. And that's what he and the vice president have been doing, leading from the front.
And see, this is the thing for me. I mean, I was seeing some comment today, some crazy deranged woman saying, see, Biden, Harris, they've done nothing for black people. And you're sitting there going, what, this don't count?
It's man, I know you and I have had so many conversations. This makes your head hurt, listening to the foolishness. When you give people facts and they come back with foolishness, it's crazy. Now, we hadn't talked about Pell Grant increases, that $900 increase in Pell Grants, which of course benefits our kids in HBCUs much more significantly. We're talking about 2023 last year being the lowest unemployment on record for black folk in this country, the lowest since we started disaggregating data just over 50 years ago. we're talking about the greatest significant increase in black wealth and closing the wealth gap between the black community and white community under this president. That's before we get into all the social issues. We're talking about record amounts of black businesses being started, the most businesses in the last 20 years. And it comes all through the lens of equity that the president and vice president approached this administration with. They knew that we had to do a lot. I think about, we all obviously all went through our own forms of trauma in the wake of the pandemic. But the greatest pandemic since 1918, maybe the greatest economic disruption we saw, some would say since 1929, the greatest social unrest in the wake of the murder of George Floyd since 1968, all wrapped up into one period of time where our president decided he needed to do two things. One, he needed to stop the carnage of the pandemic. While the former president was telling people to inject bleach and shine UV rays up their private areas, our president decided he needed to get shots in arms. He had to save lives, and then he needed to save livelihoods. He recognized that there are communities all across this country in urban, suburban, and rural America that have been underinvested in. And he decided he's going to make some long-term decisions and lead from the front and put broadband. Babies who couldn't get educated because they couldn't get access to broadband. They're sitting in McDonald's parking lots and public library parking lots after they've closed just to get access to broadband and do their homework. Everything he did from an equity lens, realizing that some of us had farther to go than others did. And the proof is in the pudding, not just in our HBCUs, but in wealth creation and fighting discrimination and biases and home appraisals, and can't get Congress to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. So the president signs an executive order directing every single federal agency under his purview to follow all the rules that we were all demanding after the murder of George Floyd. The man's been leading from the front, and you can. Other people throw out the BS and the misinformation, disinformation that they text to our brothers all across this country and spread across our barbershops. So it's just foolishness. And I think it's up to each and every one of us to continue to speak the truth and make sure people understand that I'm not giving much to hyperbole, but the future of our communities as we know it, the future of our children and grandchildren depends upon some real decisions that we have to make this year. I think looking back favorably at the Biden-Harris record gives us a real roadmap as to what's possible.
And I think people also have to understand when the administration does this, it also spurs other investment. Bloomberg Foundation announced multiple millions they're giving to 4 HBCU medical schools. Meharry was one of them. They got $175 million. Go to my iPad, Anthony. This was just last week. An anonymous donor stepped up and gave Meharry another $20 million. What we have seen, of course, Mackenzie Scott, what she's been doing as well, we are seeing, first of all, we saw a lot of people step up in the wake of the death of George Floyd, but because the administration has put this focus on HBCUs, highlighting these crown jewels, now other people are responding. And so this is also the overflow effect of the administration of Democrats in Congress putting the focus and the money towards HBCUs.
Yeah, absolutely. Roland, there are very few problems facing our society, and you know it all too well, because I see the work that you do out on behalf of charitable institutions and causes every day. There are very few problems that only the government can solve. You need a public focus. You need private focus. You need philanthropic focus. You need people at different levels of the government, from the federal government, state government, local government, and you need real community leadership. Making sure, and that's why I love the work I do in the Office of Public Engagement. It's our job to work with civil society, with church groups, with faith groups, with labor and business, with social groups like your fantastic fraternity of Alpha Phi Alpha and mine of Kappa Alpha Psi, but folks who are doing great work. And all the other Divine Nine, I might add, too. The president is also the very first president to establish a working group, the Divine Nine, in the White House, because he wanted to make sure that we knew what organizations we're doing out there. We work closely with everyone from every group you might think of, because our job is to listen very closely and find ways that we can work together to solve complex problems. That's the way you get things done, working together.
Absolutely. It has been a considerable focus And when you also have committed players in Congress, folks like Congressman Bobby Scott of Virginia, Congresswoman Alma Adams of North Carolina, and so many others, those things matter. And I got to say this because, again, I really do get sick and tired of listening to some black people who say the Congressional Black Caucus is worthless. They do nothing on behalf of black people. And so I don't know why they're there. It's dumb to me because even though Republicans right now control the U.S. House, the reality is it still matters in terms of what they do. And everything you talked about, none of that stuff got done without the Congressional Black Caucus. Even when people were talking about making cuts, they were there to say, no, that's not going to happen. And so it takes partners. And there are some, if there's one bright spot among Republicans, it's they largely supported HBCUs as well. So this has not necessarily been a controversial thing, but the CBC has played a huge role in making this $17 billion real.
You mentioned Ms. Adams and Mr. Scott. I throw in, of course, my Congressman Jim Clyburn. But I will tell you, under the leadership of so many, I'll say our Chair Emeritus, Joyce Beatty. But I got to lean in a little bit on Stephen Horsford as chair of the CBC. A super sharp brother who's focused like a laser beam on moving the needle on work, wages, and wealth in ways that I think would make anyone who spent some time with him incredibly proud. The focus on record-breaking amounts of procurement, of government contracts with minority-owned businesses. We're talking about $180 billion in federal procurement opportunities for underserved minority and small businesses. We're talking about the number of loans to the small business, from the Small Business Administration to black-owned businesses having more than doubled under this presidency, working in partnership with folks at the CBC. We're talking about Latina businesses growing at a faster rate than anyone else in the country. But that comes with a constant push and pull, pressure, thoughtful policymaking that the CBC has led on. I couldn't be more proud to call so many members of the Congressional Black Caucus my friends. For so many years, they were considered the conscience of the Congress, and they still are. But when you talk about real, like, incredible, thoughtful policy making that keeps your eyes on the ball every single day and dogged leadership to make sure things happen, we couldn't have better policymakers in the federal government than the members of the CBC.
All right, Steve Benjamin, we certainly appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us from Philadelphia. Thanks a lot.
All right. God bless you, brother. Be well.
I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Folks, let's go back to our panel here. We were talking about, again, what folks are saying. Okay, I need somebody, y'all got to show up, so I need y'all to kill that audio. I want to show y'all this, and I really try to ignore some really stupid people who just say stupid stuff. But this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about on Congo. This fool here, she goes, because she was responding to this tweet that Angela Rye had posted. She goes, the Congressional Black Caucus is a group of bougie boule folk who don't do a damn thing for the black community. They rush to pass bills for Israel, but sit on legislation that helps black people. And Angela Rye is part of that club. Savvy Sabs number 2, you are dumb. I mean, these people just say stuff and they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. They have no idea how certain things are inserted into certain bills, how some things are pulled out. It's just a lie. It's just a flat out lie when you start going through resources that are coming to black communities and others. I mean, these folks just say this stuff, and I see it all the time, and they literally don't understand what the hell actually happens in Congress at all.
And that's why I really love, when you go into these HBCU segments, it's just like a class, man. And one of the things I really also love is that you always put out the clips on your HBCU, well, on all of your segments, but your HBCU segments on YouTube, you know, and your other platforms. So folks like me can take the link and share it with these people, because some of these guys who are out there are bots and are ignorant, but some of these people are folks who are in our community who spend all of their time naysaying. And I love what you did at the beginning of this segment. You talked to the brother and you said you noticed that some of these Republicans who say Trump did more for all of these black HBCUs never come with the numbers. They never come with the facts. And the fact fact that these guys want to spend so much time condemning what members of the CBC are doing, condemning what Biden is doing as relates to HBCUs, and what hopefully, when I say hopefully that she wins, President Harris will continue when she wins, the facts are there. And why don't you actually go to the HBCUs, talk to the leadership, talk to the students, and see what's happening on the ground. The fact that we have to continue to serve as agents of informing our own community about the incredible things that are happening, not only in our HBCUs, but our partnership with this administration, it's strategic on some people who just don't want us to support these. And for people to come at people like Angela Rye and the great work that the CBC is doing, it's just ignorant and it's disrespectful. But my hope is that more people who are watching videos like this, watching clips like this, will at least have some fodder to share with those ignorant people out there, because it's like they want to get rid of the CBC. And then what do we have, right? They always have smoke for the black folks who are trying to do something, and they're not doing anything themselves.
Look, that's what constantly happens, Renita. And I just sit here and I look at some of these people. And my whole deal is this here. If you want to offer a critique of the Congressional Black Caucus or the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation or the CBC PAC or the CBC Institute, okay, make it a substantive fact. I just can't stand these ignorant people who throw stuff out like, there ain't enough black people. Ain't no bills enough black people. Some fool posted, I ain't gonna vote for Kamala Harris because she won't do anything specifically for black people. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
The investment that the Biden-Harris administration made for HBCUs is so important and substantial, because what a lot of people forget is that the HBCUs are technically private schools. So when you look at state schools, like the University of Florida, University of Georgia, schools like that, they get money in the state budget every year. They get money to help with their buildings and facilities. They also get money in the form of scholarships. For students get money in the form of scholarships to attend these universities, which makes it easier for folks in the state to go to those state schools. But with the HBCUs, they are technically private universities. And I think that a lot of times people look at them and they don't see them in the same way they would see a Harvard, where you just have to pay to go, which is not a state school. But the HCUs are in the same boat. So
but there are public HBCUs. So
right, there are some, but a lot of them are private, and
yeah,
because of that, because they by law they cannot get the same money.
The majority of them are
they
public.
cannot get the same money.
Julian, hold on. We need to finish. Then go, Julian.
Thank you. A lot of them are private universities, and they just are blocked from getting some of the same money that the state schools can get. And so because of that, they do need additional support. And so this, I think, is a substantial investment, and it's important, and it's a big deal.
Julian?
Of the 100 or so HBCUs, about 40 of them, under the 40, are private. The remainder are public. They do get state funds. The state funds they get are not fair. They don't get their share of state funds, but they are public universities. The challenge, of course, is number one, the privates like Bennett College that I was once president of. We're private, so we don't necessarily get access to the public funds. It has to come in. Thank God for Alma Adams, Congresswoman Alma Adams, who always lifted Bennett up in state appropriations in many ways. But many states do not. So, but the public-private, the publics are represented by the Thurgood Marshall Fund, the privates by the United Negro College Fund, two different funds with the same purpose. But that's really not the point. The point is that we have, I'm happy that you had the brother on, Roland, and the HBCU week is in Philly this week. Usually it's in D.C. I don't know what happened, but it's all good. But the challenge is that Black education is not a high priority in any administration. President Biden has probably done more than anyone else has in terms of lifting up our HBCUs. More certainly, the Bushes weren't bad. President Obama was not bad, but President Biden has been aggressively investing in HBCUs. And that's really important because we still have a majority of Black professionals coming out of HBCUs. The numbers are down, as the PWIs have been admitting us, but applications are up. It's so good. Applications up, why? Because our young people are saying, I'm not putting up with this BS. I'm not going to go to a school where I'm discriminated against, where even though I play on a sports team, I'm not going to get any props. So our young people are being very discerning about what their possibilities are. But we have to give this administration credit, and what we also have to do is, as you say, look at the lies. Who are these fools who are saying, what are they saying? Biden hadn't done anything for Black people? Yes, he has. And HBCUs have been a primary beneficiary of his largesse.
Indeed, indeed. And so, again, folks just need to understand just this reality of what we are facing. All right, folks, who do this here? I'm going to play some of what President Biden had to say today. We actually streamed the speech. You can see the full almost 20-minute speech, but we're just going to play a few minutes of what he had to say today in Philadelphia to kick off HBCU week.
As the saying goes, you all brung me to the dance. Folks, I want to get something straight at the outset. I love Kamala. But Delaware State's the best HBCU in America. They're the ones that, you think I'm kidding. I was a 29-year-old kid, and they embraced me. They embraced me like you can't imagine. And we won the second youngest person in American history because of HBCU called Delaware State. And by the way, I hired a young man from Delaware State named Tony Allen. Came to work for me. While there, I encouraged him to continue to extend his degree. He got his doctorate and left. He became president himself. I don't know how the hell that happened so quick. But Tony, thank you, man. I've been introduced countless times, but never quite like that. And I mean it, Tony, from the bottom of my heart. I'm deeply moved. By God's grace, we're true friends, and Delaware State will always have a special place in my heart, for real. And to the presidents and administrators of our 101 historic Black colleges and universities, it's an honor to celebrate, and I mean celebrate, HBCU Week with you. Before I begin, I want to make a quick reference, the attempted assassination against our former president in Florida yesterday. I commend the Secret Service for the expert handling of the situation, and the former president is protected from harm, and the subject is in custody. An acting head of the Secret Service is in Florida today assessing what happened and determining whether any further adjustments need to be made to ensure the safety of our former president. And let me just say, there is no, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, those of you who know me, many of you do, no place in political violence for political violence in America. None. Zero. Never. I've always condemned political violence. I always will in America. In America, we resolve our differences peacefully at the ballot box, not at the end of a gun. America suffered too many times the tragedy of an assassin's bullet. It solves nothing and just tears the country apart. We must do everything we can to prevent it and never give it any oxygen. Folks, now to today's event. It's an honor to recognize HBCU excellence in our nation. I see excellence in it every single day. I see this weekend the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. I tell you what, the foundation gala, only about 3,500 people there. And I was happy, and I've been wanting to do this to celebrate the first ever White House brunch to celebrate Black excellence. Black excellence. Which many of you and your alumni attended. It's about time to point out what's already been done. I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history. It taps into the full, I mean it. I made a commitment, my administration is going to look like America. It taps into the full talents of our nation, including graduates of HBCUs like our amazing vice president is. Folks, together Kamala and I know that an education makes a person free. HBCU's education makes you fearless as well. It matters. I mean it. More than 180 years, born under the shadow of slavery and Jim Crow, HBCUs have instilled a sense of purpose and freedom, a commitment to make a difference for all their students, to lift up not just yourselves, but others along the way. Institution grounded in the belief that every American of every race in every background, every zip code, and you know me, I mean this, should have a fair and equal chance to go as far as their God-given talents can take them. That's who we are. That's what we stand for. But as I've said before, we face an inflection point in history. It comes along every 6 or 7 generations. One of those rare moments in our history when the decisions we make now, right now, are going to determine the fate of our nation and the world for the next decades, for 6, 7 decades to come, and I mean it. When I wasn't going to run for president after my son died coming back from Iraq, I decided that I was going to write another book. I was going to write a book about the inflection points in world history, how it changed history, going all the way back to dealing with the printing press and how it's changed everything. But look, we're still in the battle. We're still in the battle for the very soul of America. In 2020, I ran, and I give you my word, this was the reason. I ran to redeem the soul of America and restore decency and dignity to the office of the presidency. I ran to rebuild and expand the backbone of America, the middle class. And I ran to unite the country, remind ourselves that we can do anything we want to do when we do it together. 4 years later, we made incredible progress because Kamala and I kept our commitment to you to ensure that all our students and all of our colleges and universities should be able to succeed. That's why I signed an executive order reestablishing the White House initiative on HBCUs after my predecessor allowed it to lapse. Thank you, Dr. Trent, for leading it.
Folks, again, if you want to see the full speech, simply go to our Black Star Network app or go to youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. All right, folks, when we come back, was it an assassination attempt? We'll talk about what took place in Florida where the man with an AK-47 was arrested by the Secret Service near one of Donald Trump's golf courses. And why did Donald Trump ignore the Secret Service in warning him about playing golf at his courses and how it was not safe? We'll also talk about that explosive Washington Post report as well. Plus, we'll talk about ProPublica, a story where they broke where a black woman in Georgia was denied medical help because of the killing of Roe v. Wade. That sister died as a result. Did I not tell you these Republicans are not pro-life? All of that and more coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. First of all, folks, don't forget to support the work that we do. Your dollars make it really possible for all the work that we do. And so we want you, of course, to support us. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal is R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And don't forget what I've been telling you about Cash App. Cash App, folks, they made some stupid change in their policy where they cap the number of daily transactions, weekly transactions, and monthly transactions you get on your account. They don't tell us how many. So all of a sudden, I'll have folks who are giving to the show, it'll say declined because of their caps. And so we call them out. Trust me, we've got their attention. But I need y'all to call Cash App out as well. Because let me explain something to you. This is not just going to hurt us. This is going to hurt churches that use Cash App. It's going to hurt nonprofits that rely on Cash App as well as a form of people to be able to contribute. And so I don't understand why they did it. I don't understand what the purpose is. So as a result, we actually had to create multiple Cash Apps accounts. That's not what we wanted to do because we've had problems with fraudulent Cash App accounts in the past. And so our normal Cash App account is, of course, $RM Unfiltered. That's RM Unfiltered. We added another one, which is $UncleRoro.Martin.com. Another one we started was $BLK Star Network. BLK Star Network. So you can give to either one of those three. So hopefully Cash App will lift this ridiculous policy of capping daily transactions. So again, you have 3 ways to give via Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. If that does not work, then use $Uncle Roro Martin or use $Black, BLK Star Network. Those are the only 3 Cash Apps we've associated with Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished?
There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Frank.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, the 58-year-old man, Ryan Ruth, who was arrested for what they're calling an attempted assassination on Donald Trump, he is facing several gun charges. He was arraigned today in the federal courtroom. He faces 2 federal weapons charges And of course, this was after the day before he arrived at Donald Trump's golf course in Florida. And he was there about half a day before agents spotted him. Now, here's what's strange. This is video where he was captured. Now, here's what's interesting. First of all, the interim director of the Secret Service has said, first of all, he did not fire any shots. That's one. Two, if this was an assassination attempt, he hasn't been charged with attempted murder. So they did lay out and recover the AK-47 as well as other items. And so you got that going on. And so, of course, you heard President Biden talking about political assassinations, things along those lines. But I do think it's important that we also deal with this reality in terms of, first of all, you got all these Republicans now talking about, oh, Democrats, they won't condemn hate, things along those lines, and they have. But then you got people like Elon Musk who literally tweeted, well, no one is trying to assassinate Harris Walls. And then he goes, oh, that was a joke. Elon, that shit ain't funny. So it's like, no, we're not buying that, oh, that was a joke. But there was a story that really caught my eye. And Carol Leonig, she is really one of the top journalists out there. She also really, her expertise is covering the Secret Service, has authored a book on the Secret Service. So she actually posted a story that talked about Donald Trump, how the Secret Service actually showed him photos of how he could be, how photographers could reach him on his golf course with their long lenses, and they said to him that, well, if photographers can do this, so could assassins. He blew them off. He didn't care. He claimed that his semi-private golf courses were safe. So all these people are asking, how did this guy know that what was going on? Well, Trump golfs all the damn time. So it wasn't hard to figure out what he was doing. That's all he does is play golf. And so if you know he's in Florida, you know he's going to go out and play golf. In her exclusive, this is what she wrote. Soon after Donald Trump became president, authorities tried to warn him about the risk posed by golfing at his own courses because of their proximity to public roads. Secret Service agents came armed with unusual evidence, not suspect profiles or spent bullet casings, but simple photographs taken by news crews of him golfing at his private club in Sterling, Virginia. They reasoned that if photographers with long-range lenses could get the president in their sights while he golfed, so too could potential gunmen, according to former U.S. officials involved in the discussions who, like most others interviewed for this story, spoke on the condition of anonymity because of the matter's sensitivity. But Trump insisted that his clubs were safe, that he wanted to keep golfing. The former official said these preferences pose problems for his protection that former Trump aides, Secret Service officials, and security experts said have only intensified in the years since he left the White House, as his security detail shrank and agents no longer maintain as extensive a perimeter guarding his movements. A Trump spokesman did not respond to a request for comment. Now, President Obama, when he was in the White House, he would often golf at Andrews Air Force Base. Why? Because it's on an Air Force base. It is extremely secure. That's why. But Donald Trump is a grifter. And so the reason he golfs at his golf courses is because he is using them as props to generate business. That's why he does that. And so what you're seeing here, really what you're seeing here, Omakongo, what you're seeing here is a man who doesn't care. He doesn't care what Secret Service says. All he cares about is the grift. And so these people are trying to protect him And so if something happens to him, he's blaming them for it. Well, they're like, dude, you're not helping us.
That is so true. That is so true. I think that really at the end of the day, every time we look at the situation with Trump, he puts everybody in danger, right? And these are going to keep happening. And the reason why they're going to keep happening is because he's not going to stop doing outdoor rallies. He's not going to stop golfing. He walks around like he can do whatever he wants and everybody else be damned. And people keep coming at the Secret Service. They keep coming at them. And yeah, they're overtaxed. And yeah, we understand this is their job, so on and so forth. But you're supposed to remember when the situation happened in Pennsylvania. He's sitting there, let me get my shoes on, throwing out the hand signals and everything, making himself a continued target when they're trying to get him to safety. This is a guy who doesn't care about anybody. And as soon as somebody messes up around him, it is automatically their fault. And then he got enablers who are going to get out there and say ignorant things as well. Oh, the Democrats are trying to do this. You talked about the Elon Musk tweet. But someone else is going to start doxing these Secret Service agents and start putting out their information. And then they're going to start being threatened too. Everywhere Trump goes, violence or the threat of violence follows. And people are talking about, we need to tone everything down. And of course, things need to be toned down, but it starts with him. And so the fact of the matter is he has always used people. He has always been transactional. And now I think more people are going to stop coming to his rallies because they might get shot as well. And so we just don't know what's going to happen. He's always been reckless, and the Secret Service has always had their hands full with him, and he's always exploited them to the benefit of his hotels, to the benefit of his pockets. And of course, nobody wants an assassination to happen. As president, especially coming after the first assassination attempt, you're supposed to do a better job in helping the people help you to not get shot.
Renita, here is I was talking about the Elon Musk. This is the tweet he had posted that he later said, oh my God, I was joking. He goes, and no one is even trying to assassinate Biden/Kamala. This man should be visited by the U.S. Secret Service. That's an abomination. But he goes, oh, but I was joking.
He violated his own rules of Twitter that he set up for the platform. And so, his comments are completely ridiculous. And I think that he should be looked into, as well as anybody else who will be looked into by the government if they made similar comments. I don't think that he should have any exception made for him because he's Elon Musk. But on this story, not a lot can be said about this because it keeps changing as we go along. The story keeps changing. When this first happened, it was labeled an assassination attempt, and I saw reporters asking questions like, "What about this? What about this made law enforcement say that this was an assassination attempt?" Now we're seeing that no shots were fired, and so it's still kind of unclear what actually happened and why this was labeled an assassination attempt, in addition to all of the additional information we're seeing coming out about the suspect, the fact that he was somebody who went and fought in Ukraine, that he was doing media interviews whenever he could get access to doing media interviews. So it really is shaping up to be a very odd story, and I would not be surprised if, at some point it was just determined that this was not an assassination attempt.
Well, look, Jillian, we still, there still has never been a full report on the first assassination attempt. Trump claims his ear was shut off, but it's miraculously completely healed. We have not heard from his doctor. We have not heard from the medical team. And so it's like, okay, Ronnie Jackson, his lines self, his statement doesn't count. And so and you have a select committee investigating this, and here was crazy when they had their first meeting at the site of the first assassination attempt. Several Republicans didn't even show up. So you ask the question, okay, listen, full transparency here is needed. President Biden has said the Secret Service needs more help. They need more resources, things along those lines. But you also need a candidate who's willing to work with them and not make their lives harder. And Donald Trump doesn't care.
No, the whole thing, Roland, is quite suspicious. First of all, the Pennsylvania attempt, if it was that, was likely to have been glass ricocheting from the prompter that hit him. If you got hit in your head by AK anything, you would not have a head. Your ear would not be there.
And of course, the one man who worked for the fire department who was killed. He was hit in the back of the head. He died instantly.
Exactly. So there's a whole lot of questions. But the second thing, Mr. Trump has had the opportunity to work with Secret Service, and he chose not to. They told him to stop doing these outdoor events. He chooses to continue to do them. It's like he almost has a death wish. And I'm not casting any aspersions, because, you know, the right-wing crazies will say that I gave him a death wish. You know, one time I said Clarence Thomas should eat bacon and eggs, and they said I wished him death. All I said was he should eat bacon and eggs and cream. And maybe he would come to the same end that other black men did. I didn't say death wish. So I just want to be clear. I'm not wishing him death, but I'm wishing him to be respectful of the Secret Service, because they know what they're doing. And what he's doing is he's imperiling them. I mean, he's not imperiling himself. But, you know, Kamala said this, Vice President Harris said this at the Democratic Convention. He's not about y'all. He's about himself. It all hinges on him. And so, you know, he's going to be whining about this for the next 6 weeks. Somebody tried to kill him. Oh, well, keep your behind inside. Keep your behind inside. You are a target. You're a former president. You're controversial. Keep your behind inside. Will he die if he doesn't golf? You know, I mean, you might. But he just needs to stay inside. And this is all ridiculous. And it's yet another distraction. And, however, let me underline this, another fundraising opportunity for him. And that's what we have to be careful about.
Absolutely. And when we talk about fear of attacks on people, how about this here? There's an Ohio sheriff who posted on his Facebook page that people should be writing down the addresses of homes that have Harris Walls signs. Portage County Sheriff Bruce Zukowski, again, encouraged people to write these addresses down. He says, when people ask me what's going to happen if the flip-flopping, laughing hyena wins, I say write down all the addresses of the people who had her signs in their yard, so when the illegal human locusts, which she supports, need places to live, will already have the addresses of their new families who supported their arrival. This is how shameful and despicable some of these maggots are, Omokongo.
And they're not going to stop. They are not going to. And that's the thing that if those of us, we all knew this, but I'm talking about the rest of the people out there who are skeptical about whether, you know, Trump would change, whether people would come around, whether they are not going to stop. This is all they have. They have no policies. They have no instruction. All they have are threats of violence. And it starts from the top down of President Trump and is going down to all of his minions. This is why we are seeing more things happening as it relates to stochastic terrorism, because Trump just has to say one thing and somebody's going to take it over. You not only have people within the United States who are armed and will get out there and be violent, like in Aurora, they were going on the streets of Aurora, Colorado, saying, we want our streets back, go back to Venezuela. But you also got people outside of the country. Remember, going back to 2016, Russia, I hope you're able to find. As soon as he says something, the people in the virtual spheres can also start making complaints and noises. Some of these bomb threats that came into these schools and shut down these hospitals, they could have come from anywhere across the globe. And so that's one of the reasons why FBI has so many problems tracking these people. And so at every level, we are heading towards violence. The only good thing about this is that Donald Trump is not in power now, because he will try to mobilize all aspects of law enforcement that he has control of, from the National Guard to other places, just like he tried to do when he tried to shut down the Black Lives Matter rally, to go against us as well. And I don't know, Roland. I know people are like, well, maybe we need to arm up and so on and so forth. But look, the number one thing we need to be doing is making sure we're getting to that ballot box, because we have a great opportunity. I know we won't get rid of all of the MAGA people, but we have a great opportunity to put a serious dent in the MAGA movement by making sure Trump does not take office. Because a lot of these guys will know if Biden stays in office, these guys will be prosecuted. Just like Dr. King said, you can't legislate morality, but you can regulate behavior. And people are going to come after these folks if they don't act right. But if Trump comes in, these guys are going to be free to do exactly what this sheriff said.
Renita?
Well, that sheriff is completely out of line and out of step. I mean, he's encouraging people to do voter intimidation, which is a crime every place in the country. It also highlights just one of the reasons that people have lost so much faith in law enforcement. Additionally, he also should be careful because sheriff as well as DA are some of the few elected law enforcement positions. So how would he feel if folks wrote down the names of people who were supporting him? So those comments are completely out of line, and I hope that the local community steps up to let him know so.
Julian?
That tweet is so disgusting. And he is an elected official. He should be unelected as soon as he comes back to the ballot.
Yeah, actually, he is facing a Democratic challenger in November.
Great. And I hope that challenger prevails. But people keep talking about political violence, but what they're not talking about is evil. I mean, this is evil. Mm-hmm. What he calls a hyena. Why can't we have civil elections? I disagree with you. You have the wrong point of view. But what you're seeing here is the vitriol that Trump created. So he wants to say that Biden-Harris have caused his assassination attempts. First of all, that's nonsense. But secondly, what he has created is a climate, what he calls people low IQ individuals, et cetera, a climate where people are demonizing each other. And this is a very good example of that. Frankly, if the Department of Justice was on top of their game, they would investigate this guy because it's beyond hate speech. It's a threat. And you cannot threaten the Vice President of the United States with your vitriol.
Well, speaking of a threat to the Vice President, Libertarian Party nominee for President Chase Oliver condemned a now deleted tweet, a deleted comment from the New Hampshire Libertarian Party on social media that appeared to encourage violence against Vice President Kamala Harris. A New Hampshire reporter shared a screenshot of the since deleted NHLP post, which read, "Anyone who murders Kamala Harris would be an American hero." The excuse me. Oh. The NHLP addressed removing an earlier post on the Sunday, writing, "We deleted a tweet because we don't want to break the terms of this website we agreed to. It's a shame that even on a free speech website, libertarians cannot speak freely. Libertarians are truly the most oppressed minority." What the hell?
Yeah, what the hell? And what the F? And what the nerve of this person, again, to talk about assassinating an elected public official. Again, disagree with her if you must, but this is over the chain. And again, the Department of Justice needs to start trolling these people and holding them accountable. We do not deserve this level of nonsense. I mean, there have been many assassination attempts on that man, and I have a lot to say, but, I keep it to myself because it's just not useful for me to say stuff about people. Never mind. But how does this pass a smell test? How do we allow this to happen?
Well, again, first of all, I mean, their whole point is we should be able to say what we want to say. Now, here's what's interesting. You were talking about this earlier. All these Republicans keep talking about, the Democrats and their hateful language saying Donald Trump could be like Hitler. So check out this exchange. It took place on the Fox Business between the Republican Congressman Mark Green and Neil Cavuto of Fox Business. I found this back and forth to be really, really interesting on this whole point of threats and things along those lines. And it's amazing what happens when MAGA gets hit with facts. All right, check it out.
Thank you very much. I want to pursue all of this with Mark Green, the Tennessee Republican, is the House Homeland Security Committee chairman, also playing a very crucial role looking at what happened in the last attempt on Donald Trump's life. Congressman, Chairman, always good to have you. You've been hearing a little bit about many of your colleagues blaming Democrats and their rhetoric, Donald Trump doing the same, and that this kind of lit the fuse. What do you think of that?
Well, clearly, Neil, this whole assault, really a lot of false narrative about things that Trump said regarding January the 6th. I mean, he was very clear, peaceful protest, and they have taken it as a political opportunity to bash him and to say that he's anti-democracy and all that. I mean, you look at the incident at Arlington the other day, the things that they said about that, totally wrong, totally not what that president's about. He loves the military. He was there. He's loved on those 13 family members ever since the incident occurred. They just say all these hateful things about the man, and you can't be surprised when stuff like this happens. So I'm very frustrated with that.
I understand where you're coming from, Chairman, and I'm glad Donald Trump survived yet another attempt on his life, but it's not
absolutely.
It's not the first time, of course. He has also given incendiary comments blaming Haitian immigrants for eating cats and dogs. I could go on about talking about babies getting killed after their delivery, and saying that his opponents were all for that procedure. Racist comments that some said maybe weren't intended, but came across as that, calling.
Well, to fact check that.
The only reason I'm mentioning any of this is doesn't extreme rhetoric work both ways, and that Donald Trump himself should be careful with this.
Well, look, to fact check just one of the items you mentioned, the Virginia governor, who was a former, physician, did say, I mean, the bill was to allow abortion up to the point of labor, right, and delivery. And interestingly enough, the Democrats, I wish the president had mentioned this, every single one of them but one voted to allow abortion all the way up to labor. I mean, that is a horrible thing, and 80-something percent of Americans, I forget the exact number, are against that.
But they say that was not the case. I do want to expand on this a little bit with you, but this press.
He sat there and lied. He sat there, Renita, and ran away from the facts that Donald Trump uses hateful rhetoric. Donald Trump has attacked people. Donald Trump has done the same thing. And this is what Republicans do. All they do is defend. They don't want to call out truth. A little bit later in the show, we're around the third anniversary. It took place September 12th, when I was on ABC News, ABC This Week, when I called out Chris Christie, and I said Republicans have no morals, values, principles, or ethics when it comes to Donald Trump. And we're going to play that for you, but that's the truth. This guy sat here and did not want to say, yes, Donald Trump should stop using hateful rhetoric and attacks on people. No, all he did was offer excuses, and he offered excuses to the insurrection on January 6th, talking as if it was just a walk in the park and a peaceful protest. This is what they do.
Wow.
Roland, the man.
No, wait. I said Renita. So Renita, go.
Yeah, absolutely. That guy lied. He lied many times. Number one, I've heard nothing that Democrats have said that even come close to outright wishing death on elected officials, as we talked about in the tweet where they were saying that someone would be an American hero if Kamala got murdered. The second thing is that he mentioned in the clip that Democrats are supporting abortion up until the point of labor. That's not legal anywhere in this country. So there are many lies, and I really hate that the media a lot of times fails to check these people on their lies directly and in time, because it shouldn't be on the viewers to go back and research if an elected official is saying something that's actually truthful or not. The media should be correcting them in real time.
Makongo?
Well, what's sad about that is that this is what most networks have done with Trump up until around the insurrection. And some are still having people on their shows, and some of the CNN, the Scott Jennings of the world, who are still caping for Trump in ways that they shouldn't be. This permission structure that has given Trump the ability to get to where he is, it's also been transferred over to JD Vance as well. And the fact that they haven't been called out, as bad as everything that Trump has said, and JD Vance and all of these Republicans that Ted Cruz have said over the years, the people that are a close second are the media people who gave them a pass, the media people who never challenged them, who never asked important follow-up questions. And they did this across so many networks until people finally started realizing that this guy was a liar. You were able to call him a liar up front from the beginning. The Karen Hunters, the late great Joe Madisons, were able to call him a liar from the beginning. But these guys dragged their feet and created this opportunity for Trump to be able to say whatever he wants, to be able to get all that unearned media time because they wanted ratings. Journalists and so-called journalists put us here almost as much as Trump and his ignorant rhetoric has done. And I'm glad that, this guy was called out. But these situations where they're getting called out are few and far between. And it needs to be happening more, especially as we're getting closer to November.
Julian?
fact-checking needs to happen in real time. In other words, this man lies like a rug. He lies. And very rarely does the media call him out on it. There were a couple of instances in the debate last week when Dana Bash, they called him out, or the ABC team called him out. But there were very few. They called him out 3 times, and he told 33 lies. So the media has to call him out. And if they don't, Wakongo is absolutely right. They are complicit in his BS by allowing him to spew nonsense on a regular. The whole dogs and cats thing is taking on a life of its own because the mayor of that small town has said, this is nonsense. This is not what's going on. We don't have any reports of this. But he and JD Vance continue to tell lies about that. And not only that, JD says, well, if I made it up, I just wanted to bring attention to this town. No, dude, you're an MF liar. You are a liar. I mean, you would know the truth and lay down in the bed with you. And so basically what we're seeing is the acceptance of what Kellyanne Conway uses about our own facts, alternate facts. You have your facts, I have our facts. That is nonsense. So, Roland, you call it out, and that's important. You call it out, and a few others do. Well, most people are willing to allow this guy to just get away with lies, and they're willing to have conversations about the lies. And what they ought to say is, you are a liar, dude.
But they don't even want to use that particular word. That's been there. They've been scared to do that for all of these years. Hold tight one second. Going to a break. We come back. How many times have I said that the right is not really pro-life? They're actually anti-abortion. We come back. We're going to talk about the story of a black woman in Georgia who died as a result of their hardcore stance against abortion and how it is scaring doctors to provide life-saving care. That's next right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished?
There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Folks, that particular commercial there from the Harris campaign actually resulted in a real-life death. This took place in Georgia. ProPublica dropped this story, detailed the story of Amber Nicole Thurman, who died of what they call, Georgia officials call, a preventable death after being denied an emergency abortion procedure in 2022 after Georgia's 6-week abortion ban went into effect. Ziva Brandstetter, the senior editor of ProPublica, joins us now from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Ziva, glad to have you on the show. Tell our audience exactly what happened.
Yeah, thank you for having me. We feel like this story is very important. What happened in Amber Thurman's case is that this is a hardworking young mother who, found herself pregnant right as Roe was overturned, and she had a surgical procedure scheduled in Georgia. The Georgia courts made Georgia's 6-week abortion ban, which is one of the strictest in the nation, immediately effective as soon as the Supreme Court overturned Roe. She held out hope that that law would be paused. She could get the care she needed at home. She could not. And so she went to North Carolina, where abortion medication is legal. And she obtained it and followed all of the directions that she was supposed to follow. Took one pill there, came home, took the second pill about a day later. We obtained her medical records, some information from the family, a summary of medical records that are provided to the State Maternal Death Review Committee. A couple of days later, after she took the second pill, the bleeding had not subsided. In fact, was worse. The pain was worse. She went to a hospital in suburban Atlanta. And for 20 hours, doctors did not provide the simple procedure that could have removed the remaining tissue from her uterus and cured the raging infection in her body. That's the standard of care in this situation when someone walks in with sepsis and she fully informed them what had happened. We don't know what's in the doctor's minds and why they didn't operate, but for 20 hours, they didn't do the one thing that could have saved her life. And it was too late when they did act.
So 20 hours went by. This woman is laying in a hospital bed, in pain, approaching death, and they know there's a solution. They know her life can be saved, but they allowed her to lie there in pain and die.
Yes, again, Roland, we don't know what was in their minds. She had an infection that continued to get worse. We did talk to experts who said, yeah, the standard of care here would be, it's called a DNC, dilation and curettage. And after Roe passed, DNCs were provided for miscarriages, for abortion care, cut the rate of death among especially women of color by 40% in the first year after Roe. So this is a procedure that medical experts know works in these situations. We don't know why they didn't provide it. They did talk about doing a DNC at least twice during these 20 hours, and they didn't do it. And when they rushed her to surgery, it was too late, and she died there in the hospital.
Part of the issue here, and we've seen this in other states, where doctors are in no man's land. They don't know what to do. They don't know, because a lot of these states have passed laws that hold them personally liable. And right. So they are They're stuck because they understand the Hippocratic Oath, but they're just sort of sitting here, hands tied, and these politicians who are not doctors, who are making ideological, some cases religious decisions on politics, are not caring about these people dying. And this is where there was a woman, y'all can find the video, there was a Republican who I challenged on my show last year when I said, you're not pro-life, you're anti-abortion. And so stop saying you're pro-life, because you can't tell me that you're passing laws. This black woman in Georgia died. She's dead. She had, her child does not have a mother as a result of this law.
She was a very healthy young woman. A state committee of 33 experts, including 10 doctors, found that her death was preventable, and that the delay at the hospital had a large role in creating this situation. Recommended that hospitals in Georgia not wait to provide D&Cs in these kinds of situations. So, you know, the interesting thing is that these reports are not public. They're not provided to the family. I mean, we had to dig this out. And there are certainly other cases out there like this. In fact, ProPublica is going to tell the story of a second woman, also a black woman, a mother whose death was also real preventable. And we are working on that. You know, we're going to get it right, and we're working on that as quickly as we can. Happy to come back on the show to tell you.
Absolutely. Based upon your report, have you heard from any Republican lawmakers as a result of your story?
We've heard, there have been many lawmakers who've spoken out on social media and reached out. I do not believe after this story is published, we've heard from Republicans, but I haven't. Today's been busy, and we've been trying to keep up with it all. I will say that the governor of Georgia, when this 6-week ban passed, said he was overjoyed that this law had passed, that women would be kept informed, they would be safe. And when ProPublica had reached out to him to ask about these 2 deaths, he said that we were engaging in fear-mongering, which is exactly what they said when advocates tried to block this law 2 weeks before Amber Thurman died. Folks went to state courts and said women are going to suffer, women could die, and the attorneys for the state of Georgia said that's fear-mongering. And 2 weeks later, Amber Thurman was dead. And then when we reached out to the governor to ask about these cases, we were also accused of fear-mongering. So it seems like a common, you know, refrain. I think a fear-mongering is stirring up needless, you know, concern. This is a woman who's died, whose son is now being raised without her.
Absolutely devastating, just devastating. Ziva, great reporting here. Certainly when y'all have this next story, you're welcome to come back and tell our audience about it.
Yes, sir. Happy to.
Thank you very much, folks. Again, go to ProPublica, pull the story up. Go to ProPublica. Folks, I'm telling you right now, they do absolutely fantastic work. We're now living in a world that not a lot of investigative reporting, but the work they do is fantastic. And so you see, this is the story right here. Abortion bans have delayed emergency medical care. In Georgia, experts say this mother's death was preventable. And so go to ProPublica.org and check out this story. I told y'all when I've called out Republicans and conservatives saying they're not pro-life, they're anti-abortion, you might remember the conversation we had on our State of the Union coverage that took place last year. This video has gone viral. It probably has gotten anywhere from 25 to 30 million views every time somebody ran it. And this is exactly what I was talking about when we were addressing this issue.
When we talk about aborting babies, like, so you're saying to me that because we support life, actually giving babies the opportunity to live, I'm confused.
Baby born.
I'm so confused.
First of all, hold up. You're confused because you think I'm saying something that I'm not.
Well, tell me what you're saying.
What I'm telling you, I'm being very clear. You cannot say you are pro-life when you vote against prenatal care for the mother. You cannot say you are pro-life when you vote against Head Start. You cannot say you're pro-life when you do not want to expand Medicaid to keep hospitals open. You cannot say you are pro-life when you have OBGYNs who are not available in your state. You cannot say you are pro-life when you have black women who are dying at a higher rate during childbirth and you do nothing public policy-wise to fix it. You cannot say you are pro-life if you allow infant mortality rates to be sky high in areas where there are black and brown people. What that tells me is you are anti-abortion. You are not pro-life. Because if you are pro-life, you care about the child in the womb and when the child is out. And if you are pro-life, you are standing there with black folks when their kids are killed by cops. You are not silent. So if you're pro-life, be pro-life from the womb to the tomb, but not just in the womb. When you talk about black... This right here, Renita, again, this black woman in Georgia should still be alive. Her child should have a mother. And because of hardcore MAGA, right-wing, Christian, evangelical, evil policies, she's dead. And they make no exceptions for rape and incest. And they have put doctors in an extremely difficult position where they may face years in prison if they actually save someone's life. This is not what should be happening in this country.
Absolutely. And so I was still serving in the legislature in 2019 when this bill passed. And this bill does have exceptions in it for rape, incest, and for the life of the mother. But the point is, and this is what everybody in the audience, particularly those in the black community, should understand about these bills. The bills that make these exceptions, it doesn't matter. Because these exceptions, any physician will tell you, they do not give them the freedom to treat patients in a way that they previously could before Roe was overturned and before the bill to outlaw abortion was passed in Georgia. And the reason is because the bills just use very, I would say, casual language saying, you know, that you can do an abortion when the life of the mother is in danger. But the problem with that is that very simple language is all up to interpretation by each doctor. So think about it this way. Sometimes when people go to a doctor and a doctor says, oh, this is your condition and this is what I think the treatment should be, commonly people will go to a second doctor to get a second opinion. Why is that? Well, they will do that because they know that you can talk to two doctors and they'll have a different opinion looking at the same medical situation. And so when these bills have exceptions for the life of the mother, it's not as clean cut as it sounds, because when one doctor determines, okay, you need an abortion to save your life, another doctor may not feel the same. And so what doctors are doing, and they're telling this, they're reporting this. I actually just finished a research project not too long ago for my communications firm where I write messages for lawmakers to use. And a lot of the research is saying that since Roe, doctors are saying that they are intentionally waiting longer to do these life-saving abortions, because what they don't want to have happen is that they do the abortion when they know that it's necessary, like in the case of this woman who passed away, where she did not receive an abortion, but they would have normally taken that action to give her an abortion and save her life. They don't do that because they want to make sure that in hindsight, no other doctor will come behind them and say, oh, well, I don't think that an abortion was necessary in this situation. You could have done X, Y, Z to save her life. You didn't need to do an abortion. And so doctors are intentionally waiting, not because they don't care about patients, but they are now having to balance providing care along with not getting themselves in trouble. And so advocates like myself and others in 2019 told the governor and told conservatives at the time that they were passing this bill that abortion access is not only about whether or not you want to become a parent right now, it is also about the fact that abortion is health care, and sometimes you just need an abortion to save your life. Almost 20% of pregnancies in this country every year end in miscarriage or need to be terminated. And that's just the ones that we know about that are documented on record. So everybody has to stop thinking that all pregnancies just, naturally go well and there's never any complications. Sometimes you as a person who may not even want an abortion may need an abortion to save your life. And that's what happened to this young woman who died unnecessarily.
Julian?
What Renita has said is so very important, especially the fact that the term abortion is a lightning rod when you're really talking about health care. You're talking about taking care of a mother whose child may be compromised and is a danger to her to deliver that child. And now all these politicians have gotten into the healthcare business. And if they were not in that business, we would find so many more cases like this case, but they would not have been adjudicated in the public eye. So this is a tragedy. We know it's a tragedy, but beyond it being a tragedy, it's a way that the crazy MAGA people get in someone's health care. We need to look at abortion, whenever it happens, and we should stop using the word abortion. It's a cessation of pregnancy. In other words, the pregnancy has to be stopped to save a mother's life. And in some cases, also to save a child's life. This is tragedy, and unfortunately, we know those people choose to politicize it, and it's wrong.
Makongo?
You know, it's really important, like you said at the end of your interview with her, that, you know, we need to support organizations like ProPublica that are doing stories like this, real investigative journalism, almost ties to what we were talking about with the Trump issue. The fact of the matter is that there are incredible people who are out there telling their story at the DNC and MSNBC and here and other networks. And some of them talk about being able to have the resources to be able to get this and get that. But others who come on say they don't have those resources. And this is one of those examples of stories that haven't made the cut because these are people who are already gone. And people are not speaking up for them because they weren't deemed worthy. This sister was in her 20s. And the fact of the matter is we are seeing in real time the consequences of these laws across the country. Because the fact of the matter is that 33% of women now live in a state that has some type of abortion law like this, but over 50% of Black women do. And so for those of us who really think that this is not an issue, it's just a matter of time before this comes to your door. And these stories are real. These are family members. These are people that we know. And Roland, I was in the room that night when you challenged that Republican sister. And at the end of the day, you are absolutely right. Language matters. I don't call them the right because they're wrong. We can't call them pro-life because they don't care about this woman. Like you asked the lady from ProPublica, anybody speak up from the Republican Party? So I got to ask the rest of y'all who are on the fence, who are considering not voting or not supporting Vice President Harris. You got women in your family. You got young women, daughters, nieces, wives, anything that they could be raped, different things that could happen, and they can be in this situation. And they can this could happen nationally if we don't take action now. It is now or never. We have to keep highlighting these stories.
Indeed, indeed. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back 3 years ago. I called out Governor Chris Christie to his face about how Republicans like him allowed Donald Trump to gain a foothold in American politics. We show this every year, so it's the third anniversary of it. It was actually on Thursday, but we're going to run that back for you. Plus, we'll pay tribute to Tito Jackson, who passed away at the age of 70. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Your dollars allow us to do this show. Of course, the other shows on the Black Star Network. Nobody's doing what we're doing. No other Black-owned media, not the Griot, not Black Enterprise, not Urban One, not Essence, not Blavity. None of these folks do what we do every single day, giving you the news that you're not hearing and the guests and the subject matter you're not getting anywhere else. So again, send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Don't forget, use alternate cash app, $ Uncle Roro Martin or $ BOKStarNetwork.com. There was a sister, Doris McKeever, Dolores McKeever. Her contribution was failed. And so, Dolores, if you could, try to use $ RM Unfiltered, please use the other two. Same thing happened during the show to Kathleen Brizendine as well as Eugene Reed. And so they tried to make their contributions. Both failed because Cash App is capping the number of daily transactions to an account. So please use this Cash App, $ Uncle Roro Martin, or $ BOK Star Network, or PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And don't forget to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available bookstores nationwide. We'll be right back.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished?
There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, y'all. So we were so busy last week with CBCF and the passing of Frankie Beverly and the debate and everything. So on Thursday was September 12th. And that was of course, the day 3 years ago when I went on ABC This Week. And they had me, of course, on the show. was several different people in there, including Governor Chris Christie. And remember, he had done this big old speech at the Reagan Library, and all of these people were touting his speech and how wonderful it was, and how he called out Donald Trump, and how he challenged Donald Trump, and all this sort of stuff like that. This was the, we had put out the graphic, this here was the graphic we put out. And so we go on the show, and I don't have anything to do with the topics they bring up. I had nothing to do with it. And so they decided to talk about, during one of the breaks, they said they were going to talk about his speech. And I remember the sister Yvette, she was like, y'all going to bring that speech up? And I ain't say nothing. But inside, I was like, oh, hell yes, bring that speech up, because I got to light this ass up. Well, that's what happened. And let me tell y'all, when the show was over, my man Christie walked off that set like he had gotten beat with some baseball bats. He was red-faced. Man, I found out 2 days later, he went to the ABC execs, said this was an ambush. First of all, how's it an ambush? You're a contributor, and I'm a guest. Y'all picked the subjects. I had no control over that. He just got mad because I ate that ass up, and it trended for 4 days. Got 1 million views in 24 hours, and it was trending literally 4 days later. So y'all, ABC this week ain't invited me back since. I have not been on ABC this week since this happened 3 years ago. But this is also why you got to say what you got to say, because you know what? It ain't guaranteed they're going to invite you back anyway. So this is what happened 3 years ago on ABC This Week.
Chris Christie, he was referring, of course, to former President Trump, also went to a police station in New York yesterday, complained again about the rigged election. You gave a major speech at the Reagan Library this week where you said it was time to face the realities of the 2020 election, renounce the conspiracy theorists and the truth deniers. So you're on a collision course with former President Trump.
No, I'm on a course to try to make sure that my party remains rather relevant in the political conversation in this country.
Maybe it becomes. Aren't majority? You're seeing more and more Republicans are now saying they're buying in to the conspiracy theorists.
In the end, I do think that it's moving in the other direction. I think it'll continue to move in the other direction. And what that speech was all about was to repeat what I said with you on election night. You know, at 2:30 a.m. on election night, when the president made the speech that he made, President Trump made the speech that he made, I said it was unfounded and that there was no evidence of anything like what he was talking about, and he needed to stop. And I've consistently said that since then.
It's taken hold among Republicans.
It's taken hold among some Republicans, George. But I think what you're seeing over the course of time as this continues to move past election night and the emotion of an election is that more and more people are saying that that's not true. And by the way, it's also incumbent upon all of us in the party who don't believe it's true to speak out. Because you're not going to convince everybody overnight. The same way we're having the conversation about vaccines, and you're not going to convince certain people of certain things. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with friends of mine who are smart, good people who aren't vaccinated.
So are you getting blowback?
I mean, listen, a little bit, but much more praise than blowback for the speech. And so, but in the end, that's not why I gave the speech, to either get praise or worry about blowback. You say what you believe. That's what I try to do here every week when I'm on. And I said what I believed on Thursday night, and it's what I'm going to continue to believe.
I just think for 4 years, we watch Republicans either be silent or be complicit in the building of the monster that is Trump. And even post-Trump, there are still Republicans who are bolstering him, supporting him. So I feel like too little, too late. The reality is real leadership is stepping up to the man at the time he was in the seat and saying that we won't budge. And there was none of that. And unfortunately, I don't know what the future of the Republican Party is. There's so many folks who are now swinging closely. We think about the 47 states that have legislation trying to keep people from voting based on the big lie that we know was not true. We think about January 6th and the insurrection that happened on the structure of democracy itself and democracy. And there are Republicans who don't want to have an investigation into that. So this Republican Party is way far gone. And unfortunately, too little, too late.
George, hold on. I want to get another Republican perspective here from Sarah. There's saying debate there. Chris believes the party's over time moving in this direction. Yvette disagrees.
I think that perhaps we will finally see what we didn't get to see in 2016, where there were 17 candidates, nobody dropped out so that you could have the one-on-one versus Donald Trump. Perhaps it looks like Donald Trump is going to run again. We're certainly told that by all of his advisors and by all accounts from him. If it is Chris Christie versus Donald Trump in the Republican primary, Republicans will have a choice. And certainly Donald Trump is in some ways at his weakest that he's been since he left the White House, and in other ways, certainly what he has said and Trumpism has picked up within the party. It will be up to Governor Christie to make the case that there is somewhere else to go. But I do think if Trump runs, he may be alone in that lane, and that could be helpful.
I'm sorry. Republican Party, they made their choice. Yes. And I appreciate the speech, Governor, but the reality is this. You have to admit, Sarah, you have to admit the role that you played in putting the person in leadership who is driving conspiracy theories. It's one thing to condemn them after the fact, but you have to own up to the role that you played in putting the person in power. The time
we both ran campaigns against them.
No. Let me finish.
First off, I don't have to admit anything to you.
Can I finish?
First off, I don't have to admit to you. And second, I ran against Donald Trump in 2016.
You also coached him for the debate, sir.
You ran against, here's the deal, you ran against him. But when a person has principles, morals, and values, they do not support them even if you lose. And what they say is, I choose patriotism and the country over party and power. And the problem was too many Republicans chose power in riding with Donald Trump as opposed to patriotism in America.
I'll sleep fine tonight with you judging my morals.
Well, guess what? As a voter, as a voter who has 13 nieces and nephews, what I also want to see in America are Republicans and Democrats who have the guts to stand up to narcissists, to folks who lie, to folks who sit here and lead a country in the wrong direction. And what that man has unleashed on this country, any Republican who stood with him has to own it and accept the role that they played.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'll accept the role that I played in the 2016 election running against him, and I'll accept the role...
Let him finish his point now. Let him finish his point.
And I'll accept the role that I played in my belief that Hillary Clinton was not the right person to be president. We all get to make choices, Roland, in this democracy. I made my choice. I'm on record of my choice, and I'm not walking away from my choice. But it does not preclude me from being able to be critical when the person that I did support does things that I am against. And so this false choice that you're trying to set up, it's a false choice, and one that the American people are not going to buy either.
Roland, let me just press one other point. Right now, I would argue that the fact that so many Americans can't buy into simple facts is probably the biggest existential threat we face to our democracy. So when somebody speaks up for that, isn't it something to be praised?
Facts are critically important. But again, when you support someone who said fake news, when you were truthful and then push that, then when you have the networks and the conservative radio talk show hosts, that whole echo chamber driving that's the problem. I am a native of Texas who is still registered there, and I am dealing with Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick, who is consistently lying and making things up, and you're dealing with that. I'm dealing with people who are changing textbooks, well, here's the deal. I have a very basic principle since I've been a journalist. If you do good, I'll talk about you. If you do bad, I'll talk about you. One second. At the end of the day, I'll talk about you. And somebody has to say what others are afraid to say.
Sarah, you get the last word.
If you want to persuade the half the country that voted for Donald Trump in 2016 to move to your side, then you've got to stop villainizing them. You've got to stop having these conversations where everyone who is not with you is against you. And when someone says that Donald Trump did something wrong, you may want to consider praising that and trying to use that to persuade the people who are not going to be persuaded by what
that is going to have to be the last word. This debate could obviously continue. I'm sure it will in coming weeks.
Yeah, they ain't want to continue that debate. Like I said, Christie was hot. He went to the principal's office and whined and complained. And ABC News ain't invited the brother since. Even when the sister, Kim Godwin Black, was the president of the network. But guess what? I don't take back a damn thing I said, because everything that I said then has applied. In the 3 years since that took place on September 12, 2021, Everything I said has come true. You Republicans are standing with this thug. You got Sununu, Chris Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire, who was ripping him during the primaries, standing right now supporting him as well. This is what many of them do. They fall in line, and bottom line, Congo, this is their fundamental problem with the Republican Party. They do not have any guts whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely right. And to be quite honest, your other clip that you played on abortion, that's also something that's also aged pretty well. I mean, you got all the classics. And when they have the same repeat playbook, we have to make sure that we're repeating it because they win off of repetition. And they believe that if they just keep saying something long enough that people are going to start believing it. And so when I see people tell you, Roland, oh, why are you wasting your time on this person or that person? It's because of the fact that you have to counter it. Because when people look up their speeches and all of this other ignorant stuff, you're going to be right there on the play next. And the fact that there hasn't been enough fact checking, there hasn't been enough countering these folks in real time, it's how they get over. It's how they continue to get over. And so in every space, whether we're in media, whether we're in our universities, whether we're in our workspaces, whether we're in our social media spaces, when we know the truth, we have to call it out because unfortunately, hearing it from one of us might be the first time these guys actually hear the truth. So many people are in their ecosphere and in their own little silos, and we have to continue to call out this nonsense because really, I believe, look at Christie. I mean, he's probably going to be endorsing Kamala soon. And these guys ain't never going to apologize to you. They're never going to say Roland was right. But, hey, we just got to keep putting it out there and let the facts speak for themselves because nobody can say that Black America didn't warn y'all about what was coming. Look where we are now.
It was funny, Julian, because after that, I swear in 22, 23, Chris Christie was sounding like me. He should have said, my bad. You were right, Roland. I should have stopped being defensive and said you were right. And so, I mean, literally, ever since then, he been sounding the same way that I'm like, hashtag, we tried to tell you.
You know, Roland, first of all, you were looking good on that the shot. I like the little outfit you had on.
Well, you know, I had to hit him with the gray and white pinstripes and the fuchsia. You know, because you know I can't wear them bland ass, them boring ass blue and black suits. I can't do that.
But you look good. I'm gonna give you props. You look good, and you got off of the gold and black spit that you often.
Don't hate Alpha reigns supreme even over deltas. Go ahead, make your comment before I cut you. Go ahead, make your comment.
Okay, let's move on to the politics. Chris Christie, all of them are crazy. They're all kissing the ring, and the ring is the devil's ring. And everything you said is correct. These Republicans, and many of them know better. We know many of them. We talk to them offline. They say, oh, blah, 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 blah. But online, they are in formation with the Trump nonsense. And that's the problem, is that there is no integrity in the Republican Party, none whatsoever. So they will go along, they will kiss the ring, kiss the feet, kiss the butt, just kiss because they want to stay relevant. The relevance would be if Republicans would unite and say, this is not who we are. Over the years, next Sunday I'll be 71. Praise the Lord. I've been doing politics since I was 18. So it's 50 plus years of doing politics. I've had Republican friends and colleagues and great people in my life, but I've never seen this level of acquiescence that you know the devil, you call the devil privately, but then publicly you say, oh yes, we're going to support him. And that's where we are. But you called it, it's correct. Chris Christie used to be thought of as a good guy. There are a whole lot of them who used to be thought of as good guys, but now they want to be at the table. They want to have an opportunity, and in having the opportunity, what they really want to do is to kick the American people in the hind parts. That's what's happening.
Listen, Renita, you got some people who are upset. All right, we lost Renita's signal there. And here's the whole deal. You got some people out here who are upset that Dick Cheney endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. And, oh man, this warmonger. Okay, I don't like Dick Cheney. But even a Dick Cheney is saying that I believe in the Constitution so much that this man cannot, under any circumstances, be back in the Oval Office. So I don't have a problem with a Dick Cheney endorsing a Vice President Kamala Harris and the Governor Tim Walz. I don't have a problem with the number of former Reagan officials that have come out. I don't have a problem with 200 people who served under Trump endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris, because they are speaking to exactly what I was saying 3 years ago, that there comes a time when you have to make a decision, and that is, do I have morals, values, principles, and ethics? Do I care more about patriotism, the Constitution, and the country over party and power? And so these are individuals who do not support Vice President Kamala Harris and her policies. But they are making a judgment by saying that this thug, this grifter, this trash of a human being, Donald Trump, should never be allowed not only back in the Oval Office, he shouldn't drive by the Oval Office. He shouldn't fly over the White House. This man should not get intelligence briefings. None of these things should happen because he is corrupt and dangerous to this country. And so I have no problem with with Republicans, people who are still Republican, say, I cannot do it. What I was talking about there was, Renita, was the likes of Bill Barr, who would sit in interviews and trash Trump and talk about him in a negative way, and then get to the end, yeah, I'm gonna still vote for him. What the hell was all you just told me? And that's my point. There is a time when you say that the country and the Constitution is more important than my party.
Yes. Roland.
No, Renita. No, hold up. Renita's back. Renita.
Okay, cool.
Disconnect around why they can say so many bad things about Trump and then say that I'm going to vote for him is because Trump is still doing the number one thing that they want, which is which is that he advances white supremacy. And so to me, it is no secret that they can all go and list out everything they hate about him, but they still know and that he's doing one thing that's still consistent, is that he is advancing white supremacy, and that is what their vote is based on. It's not based on upholding the Constitution. It's not based on upholding democracy. It's not based on having a country that is not facing civil unrest. It's not based on any of that. It's just based on advancing white supremacy. And so that's what they like about him. He will continue to do that. And that's why I don't give all this credit to Republicans who are now suddenly saying, oh, I can't stand with Trump. Because where were you? Black people said from the beginning, when Trump came down the escalator in 2016, that this would be bad for the country. Trump would be bad for the country. This was not a good idea. They did not listen. They didn't listen to anybody who understood the level of attack that he was going to level against most of the country. They stood with him because, as Dr. Malveaux said, they want to be relevant. That's still the case. And as long as he continues to advance white supremacy, they are with it.
Well, I have no problem saying that the decision they make today is smart. Like I said, I called Christian and others out saying you played a role in this, but as some folk finally woke up and found Jesus, I'm not gonna complain about when they were in the club and when they were drinking and they were smoking. So I can fully accept that. Quick break before we come back and pay tribute to Tito Jackson, who passed away at the age of 70. We'll be back in a moment.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Tito Jackson, one of the members of the Jackson 5, has passed away at the age of 70. Reports came out last night regarding his death, confirmed by his agent. His sons posted on social media, "It is with heavy hearts that we announce that our beloved father, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Tito Jackson, is no longer with us. We are shocked, saddened, and heartbroken. Our father was an incredible man who cared about everyone and their well-being. Some of you may know him as Tito Jackson from the legendary Jackson 5. Some may know him as Coach Tito, or some know him as Papa T. Nevertheless, he will be missed tremendously. It will forever be Tito time for us. Please remember to do what our father always preached, and that is love one another. We love you, Pops, your boys, Taj, Terrell, and TJ. Of course, the Jackson 5 included brothers Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and Michael. They were inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1997. They produced several #1 hits in the 1970s, including ABC, I Want You Back, and I'll Be There. Also, folks, according to different reports, Tito Jackson was driving from California to New Mexico and suffered a heart attack as he was driving. Maybe if it wasn't for Tito Jackson, there would be no Jackson 5 because he was the one who defied his father, who played his guitar. This is what he said in an interview. All right, hold on one second. I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna reset this here so y'all can actually hear what he had to say. Give me a second. All right.
Touch my guitar when I'm... He knew we loved that guitar, and so he used to say before he went to work, he put it away in the closet in the case and tell us, sit us on the couch and point his finger, "Don't you touch my guitar when I'm at work." You know, so of course, you know, children, that means you can touch my guitar while I'm at work. That's what I heard, you know. So I was playing this guitar for many, many, many months, and my mother would let me play it. She knew I wasn't supposed to play it, but she thought I was making progress and whatever. So one day I broke the string, and I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know how to change the string. I didn't know what string I broke or whatever. Couldn't even buy one. He came home, saw the string broke, and was really upset about it, man. He took care of my ass, and then he sat me down and put the guitar in my lap and said, "Show me what you know." So here I am playing this guitar and crying. You know, I'm about like 7, 8 years old. And he looked at me and said, "Dang, you playing just as good as me." So he gave it to me. He gave me the guitar right there on the spot. And bought himself another guitar, a better one, of course. But I still have that original guitar. Wow. Yeah, so he said, he gave me the guitar. He said, "I want you to learn every song on the radio." So that's what I started doing. And I was learning songs by the Isley Brothers, Temptations, Ford, whatever. And then Jackie and Jermaine, and then we were harmonizing. And Michael and Marlon were just little bitty things. You know, they were somewhere around 2, 3, 4 years old. Playing with little cars, you know what little boys do, and we'd kick them out the room and that whole thing. Then one day, like a year or two later, we hear Michael singing a little thing in kindergarten, singing "Climb Every Mountain."
So, man, without that, maybe there would not have been a Jackson 5. A lot of folks have been posting a lot of their remembrances. Smokey Robinson posted on Instagram that he was just doing an interview with Tito last week, and he was also talking about how they performed at a concert. And Tito Jackson was also preparing for a tour. Even though the Jackson 5 broke up, he still toured, was still playing, still participating, putting out music, still doing what he loved. And so many people will certainly will miss Tito Jackson, passed away at the age of 70 years old. Julian Omakongo, Renita, we certainly appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, don't forget to support the work that we do. Tomorrow, I'll be broadcasting from Detroit, where I'm headed to participate in the General Motors Diversity Media Summit. And so, again, if you want to support the work that we do, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196. Cash App, first of all, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. But if that's not working, use $ Uncle Roro Martin or $BLK Star Network. Let's get an actual graphic with all three of those Cash Apps on it so we can use that. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available. Bookstores nationwide, Ben Bella Books, IndieBound, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target. You can also download the audio version. Yes, I read it right there on Audible. Folks, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?